Favi, we are live. We are here to talk about the League's Cup changes, talk about the tournament in general, get our thoughts on it. But before we start, man, how are things going?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me on again. It's a pleasure to see everybody. I know it's been a long week. It feels like it's been a week since I've been on. But yeah, I mean, I'm on here to talk about one of the tournaments that I worked for. So one of the tournaments that I hold dear to me. And no, I'm excited to be here. And I'm excited to talk about this. But first, I'm wearing my Columbus Crew hat, right? So I wanted to show everybody my new Columbus Crew jersey that I just got. All right. I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but if you guys see, yeah, you can see this new Columbus Crew jersey I have, dude. Dude, let's go the Cleveland Crew, baby. Let's
You're
go.
gonna piss some people off, man. Hey, listen. How can you disrespect the reigning League's Cup champs like that?
Hey,
How can you disrespect them like that?
all I'm saying is I get it. I totally get it. It sucks because lower.com is a beautiful, beautiful stadium. I was hoping that, people would travel from Cleveland to Columbus, but I get it. Everybody else is doing it. You might as well cash in now.
Well, that's a nice Nick Chubb jersey you got going there. Disrespect right out of the gates to the reigning League's Cup champ. But before we get started, make sure you like the stream down below to help us out. We're gonna try to get let's try to get 50 likes on the show, man. I think we could easily get 50 likes on the show. If you have any questions for us, make sure you fire them away. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're getting close to 5,100 subscribers. Feel like we just hit 5,000 not that long ago, so that's crazy. We're almost at 5,100. And Favi, it's only been a week ago since we did the expansion draft live stream, man. Crazy how fast time flies by.
Yeah, man. I mean, New England became the Earthquakes, and then the Earthquakes became New England. That's what's happening.
Musical chairs in the league, right?
Oh man.
But okay, let's get right into it, right? Leagues Cup is a very, very hot topic for Major League Soccer and Liga MX. Either you hate it or you love it. There's really no in between when it comes to this tournament. It's based on everything I've talked from people I talk to. People say on Twitter/X. It's a very, very hot topic. There was a lot of complaints. It was a very, very fun tournament. The first year when Messi came, they caught lightning in a bottle. You had both leagues having every team in this tournament, and it was like honestly the first time we'd ever seen something like this. And it was really cool. It was interesting. It kind of fueled the debate on which league is better, even though it's not really completely fair because Liga MX is playing all the games on the road. It was a great year, right? 2023 was a great Leagues Cup, very fun. 2024 was underwhelming, Favi, honestly. It was underwhelming, a lot of concerns. They tried to do a little, some things a little different to make the travel less strenuous on these Liga MX teams with hub cities, right? For the better teams, like I think it was Tigres and Club America. I don't remember all the Chivas having a hub city, mostly in Texas. I think maybe Florida too, if I'm in California. But man, the 2024 Leagues Cup just underwhelmed. It was not nearly as fun as it was in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is where I'm torn. Messi wasn't playing; he was injured, or it was Copa America as well. So it's tough. You're not going to replicate the same numbers you had with Messi, of course, right? I don't know. The games that I went to in California, and I think this might be an East Coast, West Coast type of thing, but the games I went to in California when it was Chivas versus the Quakes, when it was Chivas versus Necaxa versus the Quakes, the Galaxy versus Chivas, those games were cracking because, again, I'm going to reiterate this. Liga MX is king from the west of Mississippi, right? Like, let's be honest here. Like, Liga MX is the team that you walk down the street. I'm seeing an America jersey. I have a whole bunch of friends from this area. I see more people posting about Club America winning than I do, the Warriors winning, right? So it's really this. I can't say this anymore, but like literally, Liga MX is the league. Everybody cares about it here.
I agree. And let's see, we had a couple comments. You obviously had a couple comments. Mr. Very, very loyal listener to the show said, "Hi, Will. I'm not to work until 2 p.m. tomorrow, so I can watch the stream." Mr. Appreciate that. Would love to get your guys' feedback on the tournament. We'll put a poll question here in a little bit. But Fabi, what you just said is 100% right. West of the Mississippi, Liga MX reigns supreme. It is the league, probably the only league that can compete with the EPL in this country as far as viewership, right? Hell, I think it is more popular than the EPL in the United States because we obviously have a huge Mexican American population. So they support Liga MX. There's a lot of loyal viewers in this country. And this tournament was created to help capture some of those viewers, right? Maybe we could get that Tigres fan who lives in LA to watch the Galaxy or LAFC, but it really hasn't translated into that. And if you still have that up, can you read me what you saw the changes were going to be? Because we're going to talk about this. What are the changes that are being made to the 2025 MLS or Leagues Cup tournament?
Yeah, shout out to Sounders at Heart because they were the one that kind of made a little article on this. And I just want to say, yeah, basically, rather than so these are the changes from 2023, 2024 to now, the next one in 2025, where it was rumored that it was going to be a little different. And some videos came out and there was some confirmations there. So this is a couple of details that still need to be hashed out and will come in January. They will officially come out in January. So rather than a traditional group stage, there would be one group of 18 MLS teams and another group of 18 Liga MX teams. Basically, this is the group stage for the Champions League, right? They keep on saying that this is going to be very similar to the Champions League. They would each be drawn against 3 or 4 teams from the other league. The number of games in this stage of the tournament is apparently one of the details still being discussed. So will we get 3 group games or we get 4? At the end of that stage, 4 teams from each group with the most points, would then advance to the quarterfinals where they're likely match up against a team from the other league, which makes matchups that we all want to see. Again, another thing that I love about this change. The quarterfinal winners would then face off in a semifinal and onto a third place and championship match. Again, the same thing as the years prior. 3 of those teams would then earn a CONCACAF Champions Cup berth.
So one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how are they going to not interrupt league play if this tournament takes place between July 29th through August 31st. The Liga MX first part of their season or first part of their new season, I don't know if it's the Clausura or it's Apertura, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember which one happens first, but one of those seasons happens first. Normally starts in July. Are they going to wait to delay their season? Are they going to now? There's been a rumor that they're going to play games in the middle of the week, like the tournament games on a Wednesday, and then the league play on the weekend. But man, the travel would be brutal for that, and these teams would be gassed. I mean, this is a 5 week tournament, probably something like that. 5 weeks. I mean, man, 5 weeks of games, 2 games every week would be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, but it's something that these professionals are used to doing, right? I mean, everybody has midweek games, especially in Europe, right? You have your Champions League or Europa League, and then you're playing the next weekend. But this is something that's totally normal. Honestly, this is where I kind of get mad at no changes, right? If you know this is going to happen, if you know this is coming up, well, we need to have deeper rosters. Liga MX will be fine because they already have deep rosters, right? They already have, basically no salary cap restrictions. So they are able to, have 2 or 3 lines of players to where they can say, okay, we fielded a competitive team. Or they have academies that have been, intertwined with their region for so long that they can find talent. Like, for example, Pachuca has a lot of young guys, and they just played Real Madrid today with a lot of their young players. So, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I don't have an issue with midweek games for 1 month. I think all professionals are used to playing 2 games a week, and it's pretty normal. I rather have Liga MX versus MLS on a Wednesday than DC United Atlanta on a midweek.
Man, you were just taking shots after team tonight, man. You're gonna have the fan bases at you tonight, man. Taking shots at Atlanta, taking shots at Columbus. I mean, you were just taking shots tonight, man.
Look,
but that's
nothing wrong about those teams. It's just the matchup is something that we're all gonna see like 2 or 3 times that year, right? So it's like,
But here's the question, though, is like if they do that, you talk about schedule congestion, they'll play 2 games a week, but how are they going to make it work geographically? Like, how are you supposed to play Orlando City if you're Tigres on Wednesday, and then you got to go back to Monterey and play Club America on Saturday? Like, and then they got to go back to the United States on Wednesday again. That's just a lot of travel, man. Like, how is that going to work out? There's just no clear message of all we have heard. We got this. Let me just read this real quick, okay? Because this is on the official Leagues Cup site. I'm going to share it with you guys. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So the Leagues Cup Organizing Committee announced today that the 2025 edition of the official CONCACAF tournament between Liga MX and Major League Soccer will be played July 29th to August 31st, 2025. Similar to Global Cup competitions, Leagues Cup will take place during the MLS and Liga MX regular seasons this upcoming summer. So that right there is an interesting point. He says it's going to, the Leagues Cup is saying it's going to take place during the regular seasons. But like I said, with the Liga MX commissioner, he recently said it was not going to interrupt their season. So that really doesn't make any sense.
Unless they push it back, right? Unless
yes.
they push back their season, which we talked about a little earlier.
Yeah, now that is a possibility, but the only thing with that of pushing back their season is that their season wouldn't start until like September. Normally, now I need to figure out which one it is, the Clausura or the Apertura season for Liga MX to see which one starts in July. Either way, that season normally starts in the middle of July.
They just played the Apertura. They just played it.
So the Clausura, no, Apertura. So that's the one that starts in that is the one that starts in the beginning of the season, and that normally starts in. I just want to make sure that I'm correct when those games start. I want to say it's in middle of July. So you're going to delay your season almost a month and a half, 6-7 weeks to play this tournament. That is, I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, but it's something that's completely normal. I don't know. Like, in my opinion, they're going to be playing CONCACAF Champions Cup games, So, Liga MX is a different kind of animal, right? There's two seasons, right? So, what's a little bit of a longer break, right? And it could help make these teams really pay attention to the Leagues Cup if they push back their season. Maybe they want to. I don't know. Maybe they want to, have a little more into December because it just finished up now, or maybe they shorten their playoffs a little bit. But hey, if Liga MX is willing to move back their season to make this tournament a little bit more serious, I'm all for it. And we already talked about this earlier, you and me off the camera. But again, this tournament's not going anywhere. So I hate to say it. In my opinion, I'm not a big fan of pulling out of the U.S. Open Cup for this tournament. I'm a fan of let's open up the pocketbook and let's get these rosters to have more talent so that we can play every single tournament, right? So I don't know. You have the Carabao Cup in England. Big teams play their subs. Big teams don't play their big players until the semifinals or the quarterfinals. You could do that with the U.S. Open Cup. So I don't still believe that pulling out of the U.S. Open Cup's the answer, and I don't believe pulling out of Leagues Cup is the answer. So I'm torn. I personally think, this is my opinion, that Leagues Cup is the future for this region. I think that if you have Liga MX playing competitive games with MLS, you are 100% building credibility in a whole nother fan base of MLS teams once they start taking this tournament seriously. And if they start taking this tournament seriously because they push back their season for this tournament, you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of Mexican fans really appreciating MLS talent. And that's already happening. We've seen with Brandon Vasquez, we've seen Cade Cowell, we've seen a lot of these players. And this offseason, I think Tapia went to Chivas, from Minnesota to Chivas. Like, we're seeing this pipeline have more transfers because the teams are being, and MLS are being more respected by Liga MX and their executives. So personally, if we want to compete with the EPL, this is kind of like a cheat code. We get all the Mexican fan base to care a little bit about MLS, and then you start getting them to possibly caring about MLS more. Everybody has an MLS team now that they support, and it goes from there. But I know a ton of Mexican Americans that come up to me that love America, and they're like, "Oh, how are the Quakes doing?" And they always ask me about the Quakes because it's their local team. But shoot, if they can see the Quakes, going toe to toe with America, 100% they're more likely to go to a Quakes game and maybe become a fan. So I personally think this is such a great way to get that Mexican American fan to actually pay attention to MLS teams, and I think that's more valuable, to be honest, than a normal kind of linear deal. But I'll get into that later. But yeah, I think that having more Mexican fans involved with MLS is only a good thing.
No, I agree that that's definitely an audience you want to capture, right? But you have to do something that's not detrimental to your season, detrimental to Liga MX season. And you got to spice it up a little bit, man. Like now, we've seen back and forth between MLS fans, Liga MX fans about having this tournament change locations, right? It's been America both the last 2 times. Maybe try it in Mexico one time and just see what happens. Now, there's been people saying that might kill the fan base as far as not having people show up to games. San Jose, or if a game's played in Monterrey, that they're not going to go watch San Jose play a game against whoever it may be at that venue. I think there's ways you could get interest, drummed up to where people would want to go watch it. And it would just kind of like squash the rumors or the discussion of, well, MLS only wins this tournament because it's in America, right? It would kind of give more credibility to it if you did win it and it was in Mexico.
The one thing about this is that it's not profitable for Liga MX to have this in Mexico. And that's the honest truth. You know how many Mexican American fans there are in the Bay Area or in Los Angeles that would love to come see Chivas every single year? It's like, unfortunately, this is something where I see the dollar signs, and I think, man, this is something, if they don't do it in the US, they're just going to do friendlies here. And who rather see a friendly than a competitive match, right? I want to see Henry Martin score a competitive goal over the third sub playing, 20 minutes in PayPal Park, so it's something, I don't know. I totally understand that it needs to be played in Mexico for it to gain respect. In my opinion, that needs to happen as well. But let's build up some steam first. Let's have the first 4 in America. They can make enough money for to have it one year in Mexico, right? And it could be a fun away. Like they can kind of market it as a fun away day for some American fans. Personally, this is a tough summer to compete with a lot of soccer going on. And we're gonna have a lot of soccer, right? So having it midweek is perfect, in my opinion. Maybe we see like the teams that are in the Club World Cup not compete in Leagues Cup, but actually I don't think because Miami's in there. There's no way that happens, right? There's a couple of good comments here, guys. How do we have this many people in here, but only 15 likes? We have 50 people watching, but only 15 likes. Come on, let's pump those numbers up. But like I was saying, you need to have the Mexican fan caring about MLS. Having it in the United States, giving them an opportunity to see Alexis Vegas versus Lucho Acosta is something that, okay, maybe we should buy Lucho. Lucho's great. Maybe Toluca should go get Lucho, So I know. I think, again, this is the way of the future. I think you need to get the Liga MX fan, and that's the only way you're going to compete against the likes of European soccer. And I have such a West Coast bias on this. And to be honest, this tournament is for the West Coast.
Well, let's get the chat more involved. I put a poll down below if you wanted to see both of these leagues continue in the Leagues Cup. Let's read a couple comments. Lamar Reynolds says, not crazy if the money is right. We don't know what the money is. We just know that both of these leagues have signed a deal with Apple to continue this. That's why we're not going to see the end of it. They both are contractual or have a contract, and they're legally obligated to participate in this tournament for the foreseeable future. We don't know how long it's going to be, but they cannot get out of it. MLS Under the Bar says it will invade the Liga MX Clausura. I'm assuming that is the one that is that would impact that beginning of the season or whatever. MLS Gone Wild says loosen the roster rules even more and let's ride.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's exactly the take that I have. Loosen the roster rules. At least give people more of a salary cap. So that they can go ahead and have a good sub team or like a second line team, and do Open Cup and do Leagues Cup and do CONCACAF Champions Cup and to do the Club World Cup. Let's go. Like, I'm more mad about what the direction these owners are taking MLS in the next couple of years than this tournament changing, to be honest.
Me too. I agree with that. Now, Isaiah Carter brings up a very good or very interesting point. I have never understood the obsession among certain American soccer fans with abandoning the U.S. Open Cup. Now, we've talked a little bit about that. I can't remember if you're not a big U.S. Open Cup fan, right?
Well, I mean, no, that's not true. I started with the US Open Cup writing for small teams, and I understand what it means for like a team in the USL like Monterey to bring in a team like LAFC. I mean, it's the biggest night of the season for that team. So personally, I'm a huge fan of the US Open Cup. I think it's a beautiful tournament. I think you can sell that to an American fan a lot easier than all the finals that you have throughout the season, right? Try to explaining to an American fan like, no, this is the Super Bowl. No, this is really is like the Super Bowl. And then no, this is the Super Bowl 4 times in a year, right? So that's tough. But telling an American fan that, hey, dude, like El Farolito, like the Brio place, like they have a chance to, beat Miami in a final. Like, isn't that cool? Like that is more appealing to the American fan, in my opinion, than having 4 finals of different, tournaments. That's something they can't even fathom. Like people still don't even know what the NBA Cup is, right? So personally, I'm a big fan of the US Open Cup. I think it's okay to play your subs. I wasn't a fan of Don Garber actually taking out the teams. I mean, let the teams make the decision. If they don't want to play those games, if Rwanga doesn't want to play that game, don't make them play the game, right? So even the name LAFC alone, I went to this game, LAFC alone coming to Monterey was such a big draw for Monterey. It even saw some LAFC guys come up to Monterey. So it was the second team. It was Duenas. It was Ordez. It was all these guys that we didn't know of and we got to know of. So personally, I'm a huge fan of the US Open Cup. They need to still keep that, but open up the roster rules like MLS Gone Wild was saying, and let the teams play. Let the teams decide whether they want to play the starters or not. Like it's not that difficult. But again, this is a lot more backdoor than just logistical things. Like this is a lot more drama than we could ever fathom.
Well, and also too, this is a whole other issue with MLS and Apple right now is they put all their eggs into the Messi basket. And when he is not a participant in the playoffs anymore, when he's not a participant in Leagues Cup anymore, it really kills the interest in either tournaments.
But also that's the owners too. That's the other owners not wanting to go buy another player like that. That's on the Robert Krafts. That's on the Fishers. That's on like Kroenke did a good job with changing that Rapids team. But that's what I'm saying. You could buy Neymar right now. He literally went back to Santos. Nobody tried, right? So
they should have got him last year before he went to. I talked to a friend about that a couple of days ago. They should have gotten him when PSG were selling him. They should have done what they could have done to get him in.
So honestly, a lot of this is on the owners, and I bet you anything, Jorge Mas is fuming every time he goes to an owners meeting because he literally brought the best player in the world. And everybody's looking bad because once the best player in the world is out of the tournament or injured or not playing, it's on Miami to bring the numbers. And personally, yes, MLS hasn't done the best job, with getting LA games involved or Seattle involved with their superstars. I think that has more to do with the matches all being together. People don't care about West Coast games. Once they already watch their team and they already watch the 360 show, they're not going to wait till 7:30 to watch the LA Galaxy. And that is apparent with Ricky Puig not being a finalist for the MLS MVP when he was one of the best players in the league by far, right? So personally, this whole Apple schedule where you had these games so close together was a complete failure. That's the reason why it seems like the viewership's down. That seems why it feels like they put all the things in the Messi basket. And that, I mean, Leagues Cup didn't help with Messi and America falling early. But yeah, we're not going to have those problems next year. It's going to be Columbus versus a Liga MX team. It's going to be Cincinnati versus Monterey. They're going to be good marquee matchups and everybody's going to want to watch. I saw some of the comments saying that Mexican fans not going to care about anybody but their team. But yeah, let's say they're interested in Lucho Costa. You're going to want to find out where Lucho Costa plays and what were his stats. You're going to want to know a little bit. And even if it's just a little bit of a seed of you liking an MLS team or yeah, Lucho Costa came from Cincinnati. Maybe that blossoms into a flower. You need to give yourself all these opportunities to grab these fans in any way possible. And personally, I think Liga MX I mean, this is just my tinfoil hat time. I think Liga MX needs to put themselves back in EAFC because that 100% makes it so that people know your players, and MLS should be fighting for them to put their teams back into EAFC because without that, nobody knows unless you watch Liga MX who half of these players are.
I mean, that's true. That is a very educational way for the average casual fan to learn players around the world. When I started watching soccer, that was a way that made me find my passion and taught me about these clubs and players around the world. And then obviously I watched it. Cesar Vasquez says, I stopped watching Liga MX after the first Leagues Cup. And now I'm assuming he meant now I'm fully an MLS fan with Columbus Crew as my home team. That's interesting. I haven't heard that one before. I've heard of people adopting an MLS team along with their Liga MX team, but I haven't heard someone fully give up on Liga MX.
I know a lot of people that are Club America fans or Cruz Azul, and they go to Quakes games and they'll cheer on the Quakes. So it's totally normal.
Yes. Let's see. We got a question. Fat Kid says, a question I have is that MLS canceled the Apple TV deal and moved to ESPN. Only way to get normal sports fans invested in MLS. They can cancel it. Either one has an opt-out clause in the deal, MLS and Apple TV. And Fabi, we talked about this a little bit. I don't know what the breaking point's going to be for that when they say enough's enough either way, but things are not looking great right now. I just did a video on this. Actually did a couple videos on this. Things aren't looking great right now. And if they were great, you wouldn't have MLS come out saying, hey, we're going to change the schedule, like spread the games out, which they should have done from the start, right? They should have had primetime games. They should have never had all their games on Saturday. They should have had a game of the week on a Friday night or a Sunday night and really built it up and hyped it up. The marketing is lacking, obviously. There's not enough. MLS and Apple are not doing a good enough job of promoting these matches, but they're changing that. They're trying to get cell phone carriers back in play to give out free subscriptions to Season Pass with a subscription to T-Mobile, Sprint, whatever the hell it may be. They're trying to do that. And they're trying to figure out other things and mechanisms they can do to get people to watch. But as MLS Gone Wild has said earlier, what many people have said, what I have said, what you have said, it comes down to quality of play. To get casuals to watch, you have to have something worth watching. You and I and all these people in the chat are MLS sickos. Maybe some of them are just Liga MX fans. They got to do a good enough job of capturing the American or the USMNT fan who doesn't watch MLS because they don't like the product.
So this is somewhere where I kind of have a little bit of a bias on, but I think this is something that should happen. But I think MLS should make more linear agreements with Univision and Telemundo. And I think because if you know in Leagues Cup that Chivas is going to play against LAFC, and you have a couple of LAFC games thrown on Univision at Saturday night, maybe not when Liga MX is going on, because there is a time where there is MLS games and not Liga MX games, where you could go ahead and maybe capture someone interested in seeing, wait, Carlos Vela played for this team? You know, like where you can capture some of those crossover fans that are so badly wanted, right? I personally think not giving up on the Apple TV deal yet. I think, one, they need to go ahead and get rid of that paywall. You already have a paywall for Apple TV. You're making a second paywall, so you're really only getting the casuals. And Will, I know you think that will never happen, but it needs to happen. That paywall needs to be gone. You also need to get more. So this is my parents. Let me tell you a story about my parents. My dad, he's a soccer fan. He likes Uruguay. He watches a whole bunch of soccer. But you know how many times he tells me, hey, Club America and Cruz Azul is on? And I'm like, Dad, I cover MLS, a little bit of Liga MX, but I'm watching MLS right now on Apple. And he's like, just telling you know that they're on Telemundo right now. A lot of Latin parents don't know how to use streaming services. And I can tell you from the first hand, if you threw some MLS games on Univision and Telemundo, I think they would have a bigger draw than they would on like a Fox or an ESPN, because a lot of times the average, let's say, cable watcher for English media knows how to use like streaming services.
Navigate it better, right?
Yeah, 100%. So personally, from my experience, if you threw some MLS games on, you would grab a whole bunch of, for second generation or first generation Latin Americans that are just watching Telemundo because they don't know how to navigate streaming services. And every time I'm home, I throw on the Miami game or I throw on something in Spanish because they like listening in Spanish. And I think that the Spanish broadcasts are actually really good on Apple TV. So throw Sammy, if you guys know Sammy, the guy who goes "a ver" and during Miami, he's very famous. If you throw some of his calls on Univision or Telemundo, you're gonna get the people to fall in love with the call because he has such a good call when he's calling Messi in Miami. Sometimes he calls Portland and LAFC, and that call makes my parents a fan of watching Miami too. So personally, Latins like to romanticize this game. Throw some games on Telemundo and Univision. I think that's more beneficial than throwing the American broadcast on Fox or ESPN because, again, you already burned those bridges, in my opinion.
Dude, imagine how many viewers on Telemundo or Univision would get if they had Messi, Miami playing, Suarez on there. I feel like that would just go crazy. The numbers would be insane. It would 100%. Go insane. Real quick, guys, if you haven't liked the show down below, we're 24 likes away from 50. Let's hit 50 before the stream is over. So close. Smash the like button down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're 10 subscribers away from 5,100. Help the channel out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification so you never miss any of our live streams or new videos. Appreciate the support.
Or even throw Ricky Puig in the LA Galaxy on Telemundo, right? I mean, they're going to be like, well, who's this Pet guy? I mean, this Pet guy looks great. And then they know Ricky from his days back in Barcelona. They know Cáceres. They know some of these players like Edward Cerrillo. Oh, he's Latin American. I wonder who he is. He could play for Chivas. All these Mexican-American fans, they like these games where they feature Mexican or Mexican-eligible players, right? Because maybe they can get some of these players to the national team. But personally, I don't know. I think MLS, like I saw this comment by Mr. and Mr., I think MLS needs to get Liga MX to be back in the EAFC because I think at this point in time, they're a bundle group. And I think they should start selling their rights as a bundle group eventually. But we'll get there later. Personally, I still like this tournament a lot. I still like Leagues Cup. I still think that this tournament has a lot to grow. I like the changes. 18 and 18, I think, is such a good change. Nobody wanted to watch, I hate to say it again, DC United in Atlanta, but nobody wanted to watch that because it doesn't make sense in this tournament. So gives people to care about the regular season a little bit more if they do that, if they take out the teams that didn't make it. Sucks because I'm close to the Quakes, so I'm gonna have to travel for some Leagues Cup games. But I don't know. I just think you can have this draw. And if I'm Apple TV right now, I'm going to purchase those Liga MX rights whenever they're up. I am getting Liga MX to be another tier or another entity on Apple TV.
So another part of the package, right? Well, let me say this real quick about Liga MX, right? And I think a lot of Liga MX fans agree with this. I think Liga MX has really fumbled the bag the last couple years, and I'll tell you why. First off, they got rid of promotion relegation, which a lot of people say, well, they didn't really need that. Look at MLS. They've thrived under it. But
I think, can I ask you this? What Mexican fan have you met where they cared about promotion relegation?
All of them. Eric Gomez, my good friend at ESPN MX, said it was a big deal. It was a really big deal they got rid of it because they believe the competition has lowered since they got rid of it because there's no punishment like there is in MLS. There's no punishment for being a bad team. It's rinse, wash, repeat. No punishment. Here's another point, though. They don't let their best talent leave. They just overpay and keep their players here, and it's making the national team struggle because they're not getting their best players out of the league to go play in other leagues. It's hurting them. That I think that has been very detrimental to Liga MX in the last couple years. You can really see how worse how bad the national team has been performing. And you look at how well the USMNT has played. Now, they did beat us recently, but you know what I'm saying? The last 5 years, the USMNT has been better than the Mexican national team. And I think that this tournament, they really have done a bad job with this tournament as well, but not being strong enough with MLS and fighting to have this tournament played in Mexico. I think they have more leverage than most people think. And I don't think they have fought hard enough to get this played. And I think it's really turned off their fan base. This tournament has pissed off a lot of Liga MX fans the last couple years because they think it's a pointless tournament that doesn't really benefit them.
For the Mexican Liga MX.
For the yes,
From
exactly.
In Mexico Liga MX.
Yes, which is their base. So that is the most. I mean, that is. I mean, we're not catering to anyone else except the MLS. I mean, there are a lot of Liga MX fans in the United States. We know that, but MLS is catering to the MLS fans in the United States. Of course, Liga MX is going to cater to the Mexican fans in Mexico.
I bet you
their
this.
core audience.
If Liga MX was allowed to make a season like a clausura happen in the United States, they would still profit just as much. They would sell out stadiums left and right. I mean, look at the Chivas San Jose game. They almost sold out the 49er stadium, right? Like it was maybe like 3,000 off. Like they're not going to have a problem. There's such a big Mexican American audience on this West Coast. You'll be shocked to see that they literally care about this base too, that they almost have like preseason tournaments here all the time because it makes them so much money. But personally, I don't know. I think I agree with you, but you know how many Mexican fans have multiple Mexican teams too? Like everybody likes a team, but then when their team is out, they like Chivas, you know? So it's something where it's like, I don't think they truly care about promotion relegation and the soccer purists. Yes, they're going to care, but okay, who's the team that would get relegated? Like Veracruz, Juarez? I don't see many Juarez jerseys rocking around here, right? So I think what's it called? Excuse me. Liga MX is so far gone with parity that like was America ever going to get relegated? No. So it's like we're lying to ourselves if we really think Chivas and America would get relegated and that sort of system. So I'm thinking like they're finally saying, okay, it's a sausage. You're not going to see how it's made. Instead of lying to you and say, this is a sausage, this is how we make it in a chicken factory. You know, like it was a straight up lie that there was relegation. So I don't know. I think I like.
Was Man City ever going to get relegated though? Is Arsenal ever going to get relegated? I mean, that makes the league better that they have that because the bottom teams who suck are getting rotated out and there's a chance for a better lower end team to come in. Now there is Club America has no chance of being relegated now. They weren't going to get relegated, but there's no chance they will get relegated now. So there's no incentive to spend extra money to sign these certain players because what is the pressure? Yes, they don't win the league. They're going to fire their coach, but there is no pressure of like, hey, I could not be in the first division next year if I shit the bed.
America is such a big brand. Chivas is such a big brand. You almost don't want them to get relegated. And that's the honest truth. Those are powerhouses when it comes.
Well, of course. No, of course that's true. But like it has to be earned, not given, right? You don't want Manchester United. You don't want Chelsea. Well, it depends on who you ask, right? And I'm sure some of the fan bases want those teams to be relegated. But as a business standpoint, you don't want Manchester United. You don't want Manchester City. You don't want Liverpool. You don't want those teams to be relegated. You don't want Bayern Munich or Borussia Dortmund to be relegated. But, you know, because of the way things are, there's kind of a financial, they're liable to invest money because if they don't, they're going to get possibly left behind or they could be dancing with that relegation zone. That's not going to happen because they're going to invest the money. But if there wasn't a relegation zone or relegation in general for them, I think that maybe some of these teams could become more complacent. And I think that has been detrimental to Liga MX. Now, look, I want to talk about this real quick because I think this is important too about Apple, right? Promoting this tournament. Promotion is very key to this thing, right? They did a poor job in 2024 promoting it. You said this. I've said this. No one cared about it nearly as much as they did 2023. How do you change that? How do you get people to want to watch it if Messi isn't playing in this? We don't know what MLS teams are going to play in this. 18, like you said earlier, if you guys missed it, you can rewatch the video and check out what Fabi wrote with the new rules. But 18 MLS teams, 18 Liga MX teams are going to play in this new format of Leagues Cup. How do you get people, everyone in this chat, to care about it?
Look, this is the last thing I'm going to say. The Los Angeles Lakers have never been relegated, and no one cares, right? No one cares. So, personally, I was going to say this too. Let me say this first. Sorry. The Mexican soccer player is so famous and so rich in Mexico, living in a comfort zone. They don't need to go to Europe. And that's what's truly hurting their national team. They get so much money. Alexis Vega is a perfect example. He made so much money and was so famous and was a darling to all of the fans of Chivas that he didn't need to go ahead and go to Europe. And that is the biggest issue for El Tri. When you are that famous and you got that many, bags of clothes and women around you, it's tough to go to Europe to speak a language you don't want to learn in the cold. I mean, and that's just the honest truth. You turn on any channel in Mexico, they're talking about Alexis Vega's new girlfriend. You're already so famous and so profitable that you don't need that. And that's the biggest issue. And it's almost like MLS has a plus because they're not there yet, that you get their players that want to be that famous and uber famous to go to Europe to be that way. Personally, that comment's pretty funny. That this guy's trying to really convince us that people don't care about promotion relegation. Okay, if you do, then you do. Go watch it in Europe, right? This is something where you're totally normal watching the Chicago Bears play to 4-12 and not get relegated, but all of a sudden you care when it comes to soccer, right? So it's something where we need to draw the line and we need to care about these things. Personally, I'm not too crazy about promotion relegation. Yes, Leicester City was a beautiful story. Yes, it was something that happened recently, but I don't need that to enjoy soccer, right? This is why I like the US Open Cup, because it gives us that chance. This is why I like the US Open Cup, because you want a little Cinderella story action, you can get it in a US Open Cup, So that's why I think we still need it. But your question, I think that what do they need to do to capture that 2023 magic again? I think they're already doing it. I think by cutting out a lot of the MLS teams, you're basically trimming the fat of this tournament, and you're getting matchups with only Liga MX versus MLS, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants, personally. So I think that is already going to happen. Of course, you want Messi to play. You want your stars to play, but that's on the owners. Get your own star.
Here's the problem, though, Fabi. This is going to be okay. This is a big reason why the 2024 club or the 2024 Leagues Cup failed as well. Okay, I'm about to show this real quick. This is happening. The 2025. By the way, what the hell is this? Is this the official badge? This looks like shit. This looks like someone created that. Like, it's in third grade. Anyway, doesn't matter. 2025 FIFA Club World Cup is taking place June 14th through July 13th, 1 month. So that means we're only going to have a 2-week break between this and the Leagues Cup. That is just too much, man. There is fatigue. People watched Copa America. People watched the Euros this past summer. I love football. You love football. We all love soccer and football. Football. We all love it, right? But we need a break. We need some type to breathe a little bit. If we just watch this FIFA Club World Cup, which is going to be crazy, and it's going to probably hit like crack because it's going to have all the best teams around the world in it.
Is it though?
From each region, from each region, the best teams, right?
Let's be honest. Atletico Madrid versus Seattle Sounders is not going to hit like crack. Let's be real.
But what I'm saying is it's going to be cool to see these South American teams play some of these European teams, because there's always been a debate on which is better, which region's better. Obviously the South American countries have a very good argument that their national teams are better than the European teams, right? But it's still going to be entertaining. It's the first time we've seen something like this, so people are going to tune in. They're going to watch it all month. They're going to see who wins it. And then Leagues Cup is kind of next. And I think if you're Leagues Cup, you would have wanted to be before this tournament, not after this tournament. And I just think people are going to have fatigue and they're not going to want to watch it. That was the issue last year. Euros and Copa America, people are like, dude, I've watched a lot of soccer this summer. I've watched a month of these two tournaments. I've watched some MLS regular season games. By the way, that's criminal that MLS regular season games are going on during these tournaments. That should not be how it is. Hopefully that schedule change comes sooner than later. But when this tournament finally does come on, people are tired, man. They're exhausted. You and I both have had the burnout before. It happens. Yeah. It's too much. You're drinking through a fire hose, man. This has to be spread out more. Like, it's just too much. It's too much. And I think that that's going to be an issue. And especially if there's nobody relevant playing in this tournament. If there's not a Messi, if there's not a Griezmann, nobody is going to care.
That's not true. the fans that want to see Brandon Vasquez score against his former team in Monterrey are going to watch that game, right? So I still think there's a lot to be made with Leagues Cup. And I don't think maybe it's not in the American fan, or it's not in the, the East Coast European soccer watcher. I think this tournament is truly for the Leagues Cup West Coast Mexican American Latin fan. I think that's what this is totally for. And maybe if you get other demographics involved, then that's great. But again, like you're saying, if you're going to get Atletico Madrid PSG in Seattle, you're not getting any casual fan to watch Tigres Atlanta. Like, let's be honest. But that's fine. You can make enough numbers with just Mexicans and Americans, Mexicans, Americans. Enough. You don't need the world or the casuals to watch. You don't even have casuals watching because you're on Apple TV, right? Like, let's be honest. Let's be 100%.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. In the group stage, people are going to want to watch Boca Juniors and Benfica, or Boca Juniors and Bayern Munich. People are going to want to watch that.
Are they MLS fans?
No, they're not. They're not MLS. They're not MLS fans. Well, maybe they are MLS. I mean, I'm an MLS fan of the league. I'm going to watch it.
You're going to watch Benfica Boca Juniors. Let's be honest.
Yes. Hell yeah. I want to see who wins that. Hell yeah. I'm going to watch that. And I'm going to watch Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund. I want to see this because there's always been a debate between these two continents on who is the actual better continent of soccer. Is it South America? Is it Europe? The two best that there is. And yeah, I want to see this. These are rare. I mean, River Plate in Monterrey, River Plate in Milan, Inter Milan. I mean, yes, I want to see that. Now, do I want to watch Pachuca and Madrid? Hell no, I don't want to watch that. But there's other matchups. Look, in any tournament, there's going to be matchups. In the World Cup, are you going to watch Iran and Switzerland? Are you going to watch that matchup?
The World Cup's a little bit of a different entity, I would say. It's.
But are you going to watch that? Do you watch every single match in the World Cup?
I think.
Do you watch every single match in the World Cup?
If I'm not working, I'm watching any game possible. Personally, same like Copa America, but that's international soccer. That's a little different.
Yeah, I just think that this is a rare circumstance, and this is only, and you know what is different about this tournament versus Leagues Cup, which another thing MLS screwed up on is having this damn tournament every year, which is too much. Is that this tournament, the Club World Cup with this format, is every 4 years. So there's time to breathe. It's something to look forward to. It's different. Leagues Cup every year is like it's too much.
Every other year would be great, I think, and then you switch the venue. I think that at the end of the day, once this tournament is established and once this tournament gets the ball rolling, I think that's the move. And I agree with you. You offset whatever the Club World Cup is, right? Because then not only do you have these things, you have CONCACAF Champions Cup too. So no, I agree with you. I think this every year is maybe a little too much, but you have to establish it. You have to bring MLS to the same level as Liga MX, and we're not there. So,
Fabi, I will say this too. One thing that really hurts this tournament as well, and I think someone mentioned in the comment earlier, is that this tournament devalues the CONCACAF Champions League / Cup, whichever one you want to call it, because you're having all these teams play each other that we would get this matchup in Leagues Cup or in CONCACAF Champions League, excuse me. You're getting these matchups twice when we don't need them twice. You're devaluing the Champions League. And like if the Bundesliga and Serie A had combined and made some kind of tournament, it would hurt the Champions League a little bit. Because now you have these two powerhouse of the leagues, or the EPL and La Liga. If they're playing each other every year, if Barcelona is playing the Man City or Manchester United or Liverpool, first of all, nothing like that would ever happen. But if it did, all the teams in both leagues played each other in this huge tournament, it would devalue the Champions League. And I don't even know, I think people would start to consider this a bigger thing. MLS is not there just because I don't think they've done enough to really promote this. But it devalues the most important tournament in the region. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. I really don't think you need both. Either you get the Leagues Cup or you have the CONCACAF Champions League. Why do you need both?
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But this is the honest truth about MLS and Liga MX. We're not the number one leagues. So yes, maybe we're the number one leagues in North America, but I still think if the Danish league and the Swedish league decided to do a tournament together, nobody would care. Nobody would bat an eye. And that's the honest truth. Globally, I don't think people would care that Ike is playing against a Danish team, excuse me, Copenhagen. I really don't think, or yeah. I really don't think that anybody would really bat an eye, and the integrity of Champions League is not the best anymore. I think this is a tournament where you can gain Champions League berths. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, who doesn't want another opportunity to go to play the Champions Cup? Personally, I think it's a great way to kind of have that. But before all you guys like decide to not listen anymore, we have 66 people in here and only 30 likes. Come on. Get the number up.
Well, we need some subs too, man. We got to get these subs up. We only got one sub tonight, and I know we got some new viewers or some people who aren't subscribed tonight. We need 9 more subscribers to hit that 5,100. Help us out, man. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We know you love the MLS content or Liga MX comment, and you're going to get the most fair analysis here with us. Even if we don't agree, we're going to be honest and tell you what we think. So make sure you like the video down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification so you never miss a live stream with me and Favi, a new video I have, or just another stream that another live stream of an expansion team selecting new players or breaking news, whatever it may be. I got you covered. Let me just read a couple comments. I don't want to completely neglect some of these people. You're getting killed a little bit. The Lone Wolf says, Fabian, you idiot. No Mexicans care for Leagues Cup.
Which is not true, because I totally seen Mexicans care about Leagues Cup, right? Like, that's a generalization. Of course they care about Leagues Cup. Like, what are you talking about? It's a championship berth. Yeah, they've been embarrassed in the semifinals the last 2 years. I mean, look at Malagon literally was like on the floor. You don't think he cares? Like, come on.
I think he was happy. I think that was like he was like couldn't believe it was finally over and he gets to go home. It was relief.
Yeah,
it was relief.
Yeah.
Let's see what Matthew Garcia says. Not true. There's a FIFA Intercontinental Cup every year, which is like the Club World Cup, but with a different name. Okay. D Live says you're only getting the top teams in CONCACAF Champions Cup. Leagues Cup was made to measure both of the league qualities from top to bottom, not just the top. But D Live, I agree with that to a certain degree, but you can't really say it's fair when one team had just started their season and they're playing every single game on the road. If the Leagues Cup started in January and MLS had to play all the games in Mexico, we would be saying that it's not fair. I think it's definitely that's what it's like for the Mexican teams. It's not now when we're on the same calendar, when we eventually switch to the August to May schedule, which hopefully to God that happens soon. But as you guys know, Don Garber doesn't really boast much confidence with change. When that happens, then it's going to be an even playing field, and we'll see both teams entering the seasons at the same time. And what happens? Maybe that tournament gets played in January, Fabi. Maybe with the winter break we have from December to January, maybe that's when the new tournament will be played, and it'll be a host city. A host city I could get down with because every team's on the road at that point, right? That would be cool as hell if we had a host city for the whole entire tournament in the winter.
No, I agree. But it would have to be a big metropolitan city. Like, it would have to be a city like Los Angeles where you have two stadiums, you can have games going on. But that would be, I think, a better thing when it's every other year, or if they do that, right? If you didn't have Leagues Cup every season. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally down for Leagues Cup being an inter kind of week thing. I think, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of having MLS games during an international tournament. I mean, we saw that last year where Messi missed a whole bunch of games. Suarez missed about 8 games. It was just, I mean, they won, yeah, but it wasn't like this. It didn't hit the same. So no, that schedule change needs to come. I think Leagues Cup changes. I mean, let's see the chat, what they have to say. Like, say, do you like the changes? Yes or no, right? Like, either put yes or no if you like the new Leagues Cup changes. But I think it's only beneficial. Yes, you might have a problem with the tournament as a whole. You love the U.S. Open Cup, but you could have both things if you just tell the owners to open up their pocketbooks. That's my whole thing.
I want to go deeper than that. I don't want to ask if they like the changes. I want to go more simplistic but deeper, right? Not, do you like the changes? Tell me in the chat, do you like Leagues Cup? Do you like it in general? Yes or no? Do you like the tournament or do you dislike the tournament? Yes or no? I want to know what you guys think, because this is something that's very debated, especially on Twitter/X. People either love it, or, like I said, or they hate it. not really in between on how they feel about the tournament.
But let's be honest, if you don't like Leagues Cup, this is a good change. Like having 18 to 18, only Liga MX to MLS games, only having matchups in Liga MX versus MLS in the playoffs. It's awesome. I think that's a good change.
There's a lot of no's, man. Drop Leagues Cup, no. So far, no. Look, it's Francisco says no. I think there's still a lot of issues with it. Someone said it's a bad idea. There's still a lot of issues with it, man, that needs to be worked out. I like the idea of it, but they're not going to change it the way it needs to be changed in order to make it more enjoyable, in my opinion. If this tournament in 25 was played in Mexico, dude, I'm glued to the TV. I'm gonna be watching every game. Can't wait to see what happens, because then we'll know if they win it, then what are people going to say about Liga MX and MLS about which league is better?
Well, okay. Well, so I saw one of the comments say it's a money grab. So is MLS. Like, let's be honest. Like, I grew up watching earthquake games. Like, if that's not a money grab, what is? You know? So that's like, if you think the Quakes are playing for the integrity of soccer in the United States and they want to lift as many trophies as they can and not sell beer at the biggest outdoor bar, like, you're lying to yourself. Everything is a money grab. Every single sport is a money grab. It's all entertainment at the end of the day. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, and before we go, because we're going to have to wrap it up here, I have to leave in a second, Favi. Mr. says, the one thing I didn't like was the MLS season went on break. I agree with Favi. Let them expand the rosters. Before I let you go, I want to ask you this one thing to close it out. How did you feel about Garber, or just the league in general, saying no significant changes will be coming anytime soon, not until at least after 2027? You're saying that you want to expand the pocketbooks, loosen the purse strings, whatever you want to say. How did that make you feel hearing them say that?
Yeah, I mean, a little underwhelming, right? I mean, I think everybody in the room was puzzled too. Like, it's something that there was a rumored fourth DP that I guess isn't going to happen. There's a little bit more variability with the way you want to construct your roster that came last year. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to be competing with Liga MX in this tournament too. You need to put yourself on par or closer to par for your teams to have a chance, like in a real match, in a match where they actually care, both teams care, and this is like to lift the cup. If it was a final with Club America versus Colorado, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Club America is going to probably lift that cup because of just the roster and just the talent that they have. I personally think that if you're going to do this every year, you need to open up the pocketbooks to at least compete with the other North American giant, that's Liga MX. And if you don't believe that, and a lot of these owners do think that we can compete with them, it honestly hurts MLS more than extra games would or extra league tournaments would. I think you need to be able to compete with the good teams in North America, and that's the Club Americas, the Monterreys, the Tigres, right? Like that, let's be honest. Those teams would run circles around the better MLS teams because of their budget. And I truly think that we need to see a couple more beatdowns. We really do. We need to see Pachuca go 6-0 on Seattle for these owners to really wake up. And honestly, it was a little bit demoralizing because we have all this momentum coming in. We're gonna see Atletico Madrid score 8 goals on Seattle. Like, that's the honest truth. Like, let's be honest here.
We'll see if it matters. We'll see if it matters if they have an egg on their face after the Club World Cup. I mean, Seattle's going to get cooked. Honestly, their group is insane. But Favi, I have to run here. Before I do, guys, like the show down below. Smash the like button. We're 5 likes away from 50. Help us get there. Subscribe to the channel. We're 8 subscribers away from 5,100. Let's get there tonight. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video. My good friend Fabian Rankel, one of the best. No, he is the best MLS journalist out there. No. Go follow him on Twitter/X for the best coverage. On Instagram at Fabian Rankel, which I'm sure you got the same at Instagram as well. Go follow him. Favi, before I let you go, man, what's your closing thoughts? Anything you want to say?
Just be a little bit more open-minded. Yes, it's a cash grab. Yes, it's manufactured because it's only in the U.S., but enjoy the games. If you want to go to a Tigres NYCFC game, go to the game because maybe you like Pierre Gignac and he's a player that you've known for years. Enjoy the game. Don't let anybody else's opinion ruin your fun and your family's fun. And the same goes the other way. If you don't like it, voice your expression, voice your opinion, because that's the beautiful American way, right? This is all fun and games because we can have a conversation about it.
Couldn't have said it better, my friend. Till next time, guys, I will see you all soon.